Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on my thoughts on movies and stuff. Today's video is on Malignant, a movie that has successfully created a divide between movie critics and the general public as well. Madison is paralyzed by shocking visions of grisly murders, and her torment only worsens when she discovers that these waking dreams are, in fact, terrifying realities. Okay, well, there's more than that. There's also the fact that she gets attacked by a shadowy figure from her childhood called Gabriel, and he just goes around killing people and framing her for it just so he can get her attention. Yikes. Now the guys are just about ready to trade places with me, but before I give them the stage, why don't you show some love? Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified about every time we upload. After that, visit our Patreon and let us hold $1. Oh, and I just wanted to remind you guys, because I'm sure you know, that October is right around the corner, and with October brings another round of spooky thoughts. So from here on out, just let me know in the comments on what horror movies you want to see videos on next, because October is going to be chock full of horror movie and horror series reviews. So be sure to let me know in the comments what you'd like to see videos on. Cool, all done suggesting, all done subscribing. Great. On with the show. Ooh. Malignant. Try again. Malignant. Malignante. Malignants. Just give me a second. Malignant. There you go. God, I thought I'd never get that one. I know you don't like spookers, so I really appreciate that you sat down to watch this with me. You're welcome. And honestly, I'm glad I watched this. I think. I get how you feel. It was so messed up. What's really messed up is how this movie treats us like idiots. A character will pick up a document detailing some exposition and they'll read it out to us like we didn't just read it on the screen. I guess I was just too weirded out in the moment to have realized, but now that I think about it, that did happen quite a lot. Oh, you got a good point there. But I get that's all a part of the campiness, and I loved how this movie was simultaneously campy, yet also a very serious horror movie. Oh, it was so campy. I mean, the terrible dialogue, the harsh red lighting, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed damsel that happens to be the target of the villain of the movie, the white people making incredibly stupid decisions. Oh God, don't let me get started on the white people. Big black scary thing comes out of nowhere and absolutely murks your husband, yet you decide to stay in that same house by yourself even after your sister has offered to stay with you, when really the sensible thing you should do is just get on out of there. How do you stay in a 2-story house that big and only start closing curtains and locking doors after you see a shadowy figure just across the street? Excuse me, ma'am, where is your sense of safety? Oh, and don't forget Madison's biological mother giving her underground tours of Seattle. Listen, she turned off the lights, the only lights, to underground tunnels. She then heard a noise at the other end of the darkness of underground tunnels. So what does she do? She walks towards the darkness in the Are you dense? And then Sydney goes and parks right on the edge of a cliff right outside the child health clinic where they did experiments on a child. And she goes alone, armed with nothing but a flashlight. Unbelievable. Literally anything could have killed her in that building. Even if it wasn't Gabriel just sitting there waiting for her to do something stupid and rock up alone. It could have been anything. It could have been crackheads. It could have been rats. Even the dust on those ancient-ass documents she was looking for could have killed her. Gabriel was such a red flag. I can't even believe that Madison's adoptive parents didn't even try and send her for therapy. No, instead, they tried to make it go away with love. You see what the problem is with modern parenting? You can't just love the Gabe away. Love the Gabe away. And although I loved the camp, the movie felt a little weird. How so? I don't know, there were just too many shifts in the movie's tone, the weird dialogue. It just felt like it couldn't choose a direction. What do you mean it can't choose a direction? If it scared you, then it did its job. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a psychological horror, a body horror, or a cop thriller? Cop thriller? Yeah, especially with Kekoa running around pretending to be Detective Flirts a lot instead of actually doing his job. If Emily was seeing these murders happen, yet she had no alibis, how did they not arrest her sooner? I'm trying to ignore this. Her name is Madison. Her biological mother called her Emily, so I'm calling her Emily. What is she, an angsty teenager? I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to talk about the previous thing. Yeah, you were right. The police did a terrible job. Detective Kekoa would kick down a door and not do a 3-point room check. He never called in for backup, and he chased after a murderer who could punch through walls. And he shot like a stormtrooper. And they locked Madison in a Gen Pop temp cell, which makes absolutely no sense if you really think that she's the killer and she can punch through walls. But thank God they did. Because then we got the scene in the precinct. Oh, and that was glorious. You know, I really feel for Gabriel. What? You heard me? Wait, hold on. You're telling me you feel for a Mad Max teratoma tumor who identifies as the devil? Nobody ever gave him a chance, man. Even his own flesh and blood treated him like a monster. Who's to say Emily wasn't the cancer? He kept threatening to kill people. He had some serious anger issues. Gabriel loved his sister, and let's keep that one thing straight. Gabriel loved his sister. Of course he was threatening people. He was literally growing out the back of her head. He saw the things people said about her behind her back. He heard what they were saying. Maybe those threats were to people who deserved them. Wow, I hate that you make sense right now. Hey, when somebody behaves that way, you give them therapy. You don't cut them out of their system. Ugh, I know where this is going. Don't say it. I'm gonna say it. Don't say it. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. Don't say it. I'm gonna say it. Don't say it. Hashtag justice for Gabriel. But I don't know, guys. What do you think? Was Malignant an extravagant, amazing exploration of camp? Or was it just motionless and directionless and toothless and just a very boring film experience? I must say, this movie is really something. It's quite the experience, and it's actually quite shocking that I'm saying that, considering the fact that this movie is essentially asking, what if a trenchcoat mafia incel with the temperament of Sasuke Uchiha developed a raging sister complex and then got Professor Quirrelled onto the back of his twin sister? In that order.
What are you doing, step bro?
There are moments in this film that feel really weird because the movie's made up of these distinctly different components that often do not mesh well, but when they do, it's a sight to behold. I went feeling like I was in the movie at the beginning, and then somewhere in the middle I started switching out, and by the end of the movie I felt like I was sitting watching a movie. Though honestly that's a really good thing, because the end of this movie, in the third act of the precinct scene, you want to really look at it from that perspective because it's so intense and so amazing. I especially loved the camera. There was just so much interesting camera work and visuals. Oh, beautiful. Rotten Tomatoes gave this film a 76%. And if you look at its audience score, you'd see that it did far less well in that regard, but it's roughly around 50, which goes to show that this was quite a polarizing movie. While IMDb gave it a 6.3 out of 10. It was weird and at times predictable, but I still had a pretty excellent time. I really enjoyed myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this movie a 3.9 out of 5. But that's all from me, guys. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified about every time we upload. After that, visit our Patreon and let us hold $1. And a massive thank you goes to the Patreon bros whose names you can see on screen right now. Thank you so much for believing in our content. We really appreciate you just giving us a little extra step up, and we appreciate you being here. Thank you. The next video is going to be on a local South African film. I can't remember what it's called right now. I'm sure it'll be popping up somewhere on the screen, but keep an eye out for it. And I will see you next Thursday for another video on my thoughts on movies or series and stuff. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.